If a picture's worth 1,000 words, what's the worth of a 3D model? That could be the question for prosecutors in Idaho as they prepare to take Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell to trial.
They'll have to persuade a jury the couple and potentially others conspired to conceal the fact Vallow's 2 missing children were dead and buried at the Daybell property on the outskirts of Rexburg.
Tonight, Dave Colley's back to explain how a 3D model of the crime scene, like the one we created, could make that task much easier.
We want to warn you, this story contains 3D images of a crime scene where the remains of children were recovered.
Those bodies were concealed. One of them was destroyed. They were located on Chad Daybell's property.
Prosecutors spent days this summer questioning witnesses, officers, and agents, convincing a judge they had enough evidence to move forward with their case against Chad Daybell.
Your Honor, the state does have a demonstrative exhibit.
They presented an aerial photograph of Daybell's property and used it to show where he was on the day in June when detectives served a search warrant and began looking for the remains of J.J. Vallow and Tylee Ryan.
He would look over his right shoulder for a while, break contact, talk on the phone for a second, and then he would continue looking back over his right shoulder.
Detective Ray Hermosillo said Daybell kept glancing away. But at what?
The north side of the property, the pond area.
Right where an FBI team was in the process of exhuming JJ's body. But Daybell's defense attorney argued his client probably couldn't even see the pond from where he sat, planting the seeds of doubt.
Now, when I'm in the driveway, the view to the tree back there where they found one of the remains is not particularly visible.
So was Daybell a conspirator or a hapless victim of circumstance? Witness testimony and a still picture taken from above can only go so far in persuading a jury one way or another. But what if we could actually see what Daybell saw? Thanks to Mark Johnson and his team at Visual Law Group, we can. They used pictures and video captured that day, along with data from a KSL drone, to make this exact model of the Daybell property.
Now, we know exactly where that driveway is. We know exactly where those trees are. We can see what Chad Daybell would have seen when he looked over his shoulder at the pond. And it's very useful information because it gives you a real understanding that, yes, indeed, from where he was parked in that driveway, he could certainly see the activity. He wouldn't be able to see the grave, but he certainly would see the excavator working and no doubt see the activity as the remains were transferred to the coroner.
Digital recreations like these are turning up in courtrooms more frequently as attorneys try to describe scenes to a judge or jury.
There are 3 primary reasons that what we do is necessary and useful at a trial.
First, to educate, in a way words, diagrams, and pictures cannot.
You can see that statue of the dog, and then right in front of that statue, there was what I would call an area that looked like it was a grave.
Our model identifies landmarks and areas on the Daybell property that detectives have described and put the viewer right in that spot, potentially eliminating confusion in a complicated case.
Officer, you're making reference to a fire pit in a cemetery. Are they at the same location?
Confusion over questions like, where was Tylee? Her remains had been burned, scattered, and buried over a larger area.
Kind of a mass of dismembered human remains. Eventually, we're able to excavate a few pieces.
There's no getting away from the fact that these are chilling details and they are tragic, but they also are the truth.
Understanding is a stepping stone on the path to persuasion, and that is the second reason.
Looking at the model, it conveys something that I don't think many of us get just from hearing, say, a detective's description of that event.
Underneath the white rocks was some thin wood paneling.
When you see the lengths to which these bodies were concealed and the efforts that were undertaken to recover that evidence,
What appeared to be a small body tightly wrapped in black plastic.
it does give you an understanding of what took place on the property. And so that becomes persuasive. That becomes an element that affects how you would make a decision in the case.
Finally, the third reason. Forensic visualization can play to the heart.
The judge tries to have the jury not weigh these decisions with emotion. But every juror is human. You can't help but feel a component of emotion. And had you not seen that, it's very difficult to reach that same level of resonance through words alone.
3D visualization can add an immense amount of emotion, persuasion, and education to an attorney's argument. But it can also open the door to intense scrutiny from the other side, whether that's the prosecution or the defense.
People shouldn't accept anything because they see it with their eyes. They should insist on proof. And a good lawyer opposing me should take as many shots as he or she can to try to question the work I've done. But if I've done my job properly, not only will the jury understand what I did, but the judge will say, yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is admitted into evidence. You may consider it during your deliberations.
At this point, neither Chad Daybell nor Lori Vallow have been charged in connection with the deaths of JJ and Tylee. Both face only charges related to concealing their bodies. Daybell's trial is scheduled to begin in January.
Dave, why haven't they been charged with murder?
I think as you look at our model, there's so much data here for the investigators to parse. It takes time, and we know that trial is coming, so one would suspect that if murder charges were coming, they would be in the next few months.
All right, Dave, interesting work. Thank you. And if you'd like to take a closer look at the Daybell property, we've got an interactive version of our 3D model on our website, ksltv.com.